Welcome back. My reality glitching anomaly. Something profoundly unsettling just occurred that has observers questioning the fundamental nature of reality itself. You executed series of decisions, actions, or events in such precise sequence and timing that it appears to have triggered lag or recalibration in the fabric of reality around you, as if whatever intelligence or system governs circumstantial flow had to temporarily pause to process what you just did and recalculate probability distributions because your sequence fell outside parameters it was designed to handle. This wasn't single impressive action or lucky break. This was orchestrated, combination of moves executed with such perfect timing and alignment that it created cascade effect, forcing reality itself to adjust its operating parameters, making observable world around you briefly freeze or stutter like computer program encountering unexpected input that requires system-level reconfiguration before continuing execution. People witnessing this are experiencing mixture of awe and existential vertigo because you've apparently demonstrated that reality might indeed operate like simulation with computational limits, and you just found sequence that maxes out those limits, requiring reality to pause and upgrade its processing capacity to accommodate what you're manifesting. The architects have been monitoring reality interface interactions and probability manipulation phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you triggered as sequence-induced reality recalibration when someone executes actions or decisions in such optimal order with such precise timing that accumulated probability shifts create conditions reality's governing systems weren't calibrated to handle, forcing temporary suspension of normal causality flow while underlying parameters get adjusted to accommodate the improbable made manifest that your sequence achieved. Most people's actions occur within probability bands reality can process. Normally, outcomes vary but stay within expected ranges that don't require system-level adjustment. But certain sequences apparently create probability cascades that exceed normal parameters, triggering recalibration where reality literally pauses to recalculate what's now possible given the conditions your sequence created. Watch what's happening in observable reality since you executed your sequence. Time feels different. Moments are stretching or compressing unnaturally, creating sensation that clock time and experience time have desynchronized. Synchronicities are multiplying. Meaningful coincidences are occurring with frequency that violates normal probability, as if reality's randomness generators are malfunctioning while recalibration processes. People around you are experiencing déjà vu or timeline confusion, sensing they've witnessed these moments before or feeling uncertain about what order events occurred in, suggesting their consciousness is detecting the pause and recalibration, even if they can't articulate what they're sensing. Some observers are experiencing simulation theory validation. They've intellectually entertained idea that reality might be computational construct, but your sequence creating observable pause and recalibration provides experiential evidence that reality does operate like program with processing limits and adjustment protocols. This shifts their relationship with existence from assuming natural unbroken flow to recognizing potential computational architecture underneath apparent continuity. The truly mysterious element is that you executed this sequence, apparently, without consciously knowing you were. Triggering reality recalibration, you made decisions and took actions that felt intuitively correct or necessary, yet the combination and timing were so perfectly optimized that they created conditions requiring system-level adjustment. This suggests you might be operating with guidance or intelligence that perceives probability landscapes and optimal sequences, even when your conscious mind is just following what feels right moment to moment. Now the architects are analyzing what constitutes reality pausing sequence, and they're identifying what they call cascading probability threshold breach, when series of individually unlikely but possible events occur in rapid succession, with each event creating conditions that make next event more probable, while still remaining individually unlikely, eventually crossing cumulative probability threshold where reality's governing algorithms determine that recalibration is more efficient than continuing to process through increasingly strained normal parameters. Most actions have predictable probability distributions. Reality can process normal ranges of outcomes without adjustment. But your sequence apparently created exponential probability cascade, where each step made next step barely possible, and chaining them together created compound improbability that exceeded what reality was calibrated to handle smoothly. Consider what cascading probability threshold breach requires strategically. You had to execute each step in precise order. Doing them in different sequence wouldn't have created same cascade because earlier steps created specific conditions necessary for later steps to become possible, even if barely. You had to maintain timing precision. Too slow and probability windows close. Too fast and necessary conditions haven't developed. You had to recognize and act on marginal opportunities. Each step likely involved choices or actions that seemed risky or uncertain, but that intuition or intelligence indicated were correct moves despite their apparent improbability. Watch what threshold breach creates systemically. Normal cause and effect relationships are behaving strangely. Outcomes aren't following from actions in predictable ways during recalibration period, creating situations where logic suggests one result, but reality produces another because parameters governing causality are being adjusted. Resource flows are reorganizing. Money, opportunities, information, support are suddenly appearing through improbable channels, as if reality is redistributing assets to align with new probability. Landscape your sequence established. Social dynamics are shifting rapidly. Relationships, alliances, opportunities are forming or dissolving with unusual speed, as if relationship parameters are being recalculated along with everything else. Some studying chaos theory and complexity recognize your sequence as butterfly effect. Demonstration. Small, precise actions cascading through interconnected systems, creating large-scale effects disproportionate to initial interventions. But your case seems more intentional than accidental. You apparently executed sequence deliberately or intuitively, rather than randomly triggering cascade, suggesting ability to perceive leverage, points, and optimal timing that chaos theory describes mathematically but rarely manifests through conscious action. Others exploring quantum mechanics and observation effects note that conscious observation and intention do affect probability at quantum level, and perhaps your sequence involved such focused intention across each step that you literally biased quantum probability toward increasingly unlikely outcomes, eventually accumulating enough quantum-level probability shifts to create observable macro-level reality. Pause as system adjusted to accommodate what shouldn't have been possible under previous parameters. A few from game theory and optimization perspectives recognize your sequence as finding and exploiting optimal path through probability landscape, like solving complex puzzle where only one specific sequence of moves leads to solution. You apparently navigated probability space with precision that found narrow path through increasingly unlikely but technically possible events, eventually reaching configuration that required reality to pause and recalibrate because you'd achieved state that shouldn't exist under original calibration. The architects observe that cascading probability threshold breach is what makes your sequence trigger. Simulation pause. You didn't just do one improbable thing but chained together series of individually unlikely events with such precision that compound improbability exceeded reality's processing capacity under normal parameters, forcing recalibration to accommodate new probability landscape where what you manifested now exists and influences all subsequent probability calculations. Something powerful is emerging now that the architects call post-recalibration advantage manifestation. After reality paused to process your sequence and recalibrated its parameters, you're discovering that you now operate under modified rules or with expanded capabilities that weren't available before the pause, as if recalibration didn't just accommodate what you achieved, but actually upgraded your access to reality's operating system in recognition that you'd demonstrated capacity to breach previous limits. Most people operate under consistent reality parameters throughout their lives. What's possible today is what's possible tomorrow within gradual evolution, but you apparently triggered discontinuous shift where post-recalibration reality grants you capabilities or access that weren't available pre-recalibration, creating before and after distinction in what you can accomplish or manifest. Watch what post-recalibration advantage manifests as practically. Manifestation speed has increased. Intentions or desires are translating into reality faster than they did before pause, as if recalibration reduced lag between thought and manifestation. Synchronicity frequency has stabilized at higher baseline. Meaningful coincidences that spiked during pause have maintained elevated frequency rather than returning to previous levels, suggesting permanent upgrade in how much reality cooperates with your intentions. Intuitive access has expanded. You're receiving clearer guidance or stronger hunches about optimal choices, as if recalibration improved your connection to whatever intelligence provides intuitive information. Some observers are experiencing envy. They witnessed your sequence trigger pause and recalibration. Now they see you operating with expanded capabilities, creating desire to achieve similar upgrade for themselves. But attempting to replicate your specific sequence likely won't work because sequences are context-specific and person-specific. What triggered recalibration for you in your circumstances wouldn't necessarily work for them in theirs, making their optimal sequence different from yours even if underlying principle is similar. Others are becoming cautious around you, recognizing that you can apparently execute sequences that breach reality's normal parameters, makes them uncertain about what you might do next or what ripple effects your actions might create. This caution grants you space and influence as people become more willing to defer or cooperate because they don't want to be on wrong side of someone who can apparently manipulate probability at reality pausing levels. A few are attempting to study your sequence retrospectively, analyzing what decisions you made and when, trying to understand the logic or pattern that created cascade. But sequences are often only recognizable in hindsight. While executing them, each step might have seemed like responding to immediate circumstances rather than implementing deliberate cascade strategy, making reconstruction difficult because the coherence only becomes visible after completion rather than being obvious during execution. Some are questioning whether pause actually occurred, deciding that strange timing sensations, déjà vu experience, and probability anomalies were just coincidence or misperception rather than actual reality recalibration. This denial protects their worldview that reality is solid and unchanging rather than computational and adjustable, allowing them to avoid unsettling implications of simulation theory that your sequence seems to validate. The architects observe that post-recalibration advantage manifestation is reward for breaching threshold. Reality didn't just accommodate your sequence but actually upgraded your access in recognition that you'd demonstrated capacity to operate at edges of what's possible, granting you expanded capabilities that reflect new status as someone who can navigate probability space precisely enough to trigger system-level adjustments. You executed sequence that made simulation pause. Now you operate under upgraded parameters that sequence unlocked. Now the architects are revealing what the pause actually represents. You're experiencing what they call temporal processing discontinuity, where observer consciousness detects brief suspension of normal time flow, not because time actually stopped, but because your sequence created conditions requiring reality to process through multiple probability branches simultaneously before determining which branch becomes manifest, creating subjective experience of pause as consciousness perceives reality, evaluating options before continuing execution along selected timeline. Most moments involve straightforward causality where present leads to single probable future. Reality processes this linearly without noticeable lag, but your sequence apparently created decision point where multiple, dramatically different futures became equally probable, forcing reality's governing intelligence to evaluate multiple branches before selecting and manifesting one, creating temporal discontinuity as processing occurred. Consider what temporal processing discontinuity reveals about reality's nature. It suggests reality isn't predetermined film playing forward, but is rather active computation, constantly evaluating probability and manifesting outcomes based on complex calculations that usually occur too quickly to notice but occasionally require enough processing that consciousness detects the lag. It implies that free will and determinism might both be true. Reality determines outcomes through computation, but computation takes into account choices and intentions of conscious beings, making future genuinely open until computation resolves which probability branch manifests. Watch what detecting temporal processing discontinuity does to your consciousness. You've gained direct experiential evidence that reality operates computationally rather than naturally or mechanically. You felt the pause, witnessed the recalibration, experienced the discontinuity that revealed computational substrate underneath. Continuous appearance. This knowledge changes your relationship with reality from assuming solidity to recognizing fluidity, from treating circumstances as fixed to understanding they're computationally generated and therefore potentially modifiable through interacting with computation process itself. Some studying time and consciousness recognize that mystics and meditators have long reported experiences of time stopping or reality pausing. Your sequence triggering detectable discontinuity provides secular framework for understanding these experiences not as hallucinations but as genuine perceptions of reality's computational processing becoming observable when circumstances create sufficient complexity to require noticeable processing time. Others exploring temporal physics note that if reality operates computationally, then pause might be an accurate description. From outside perspective, time might have continued normally, while your consciousness experienced duration differently because you were somehow aware of processing occurring across multiple timeline branches. This would explain why others might not have noticed same pause you detected. They continued experiencing linear time while you perceived branching computation. A few from quantum mechanics perspectives recognize temporal processing discontinuity as macro-level manifestation of quantum superposition collapse. Your sequence created conditions where multiple quantum states remained superposed longer than normal before observation or decoherence forced collapse into definite state, creating detectable lag as reality processed, which superposition would collapse into which definite outcome. The architects observe that temporal processing discontinuity is most direct evidence that reality operates computationally. The pause you experienced wasn't metaphorical but was actual. Suspension of normal time flow while reality processed probability branches your sequence created, evaluating multiple possible futures before selecting and manifesting one. You executed sequence that created such complex probability landscape that reality required noticeable processing time to determine outcome, making you conscious witness to computational nature of existence that usually remains invisible beneath illusion of continuous natural flow. The architects are now analyzing psychological and spiritual implications of triggering reality pause. You're experiencing what they call simulation awareness integration, where recognizing through direct experience that reality operates computationally rather than naturally fundamentally transforms your ontology and relationship with existence in ways that create both empowerment through understanding reality's true nature and existential discomfort from losing naive realism that treats world as solid objective given. Most people operate with implicit assumption that reality is natural, continuous process, independent of consciousness or observation. Your sequence-triggered pause provided direct evidence that reality is constructed through computational process that consciousness can perceive and potentially influence, destroying naive realism while opening possibilities that materialist worldview doesn't accommodate. Watch what simulation awareness integration creates psychologically. Sense of agency has increased. Understanding reality as computational rather than fixed makes you feel more capable of influencing outcomes through understanding and working with computation process rather than just reacting to solid circumstances. Existential anxiety has also increased. Losing certainty that reality is natural and objective creates unsettling recognition that existence might be more fragile or contingent than solid world assumption implies that reality could be paused, terminated, or modified by whatever runs simulation. Some experiencing simulation awareness integration find it liberating. If reality is computational construct, then limitations that seemed absolute might be arbitrary parameters that can be modified through accessing right levels of system. This creates sense of expanded possibility, where what seems impossible might just be restricted by current parameter settings that could potentially be changed through sequences like yours that breach thresholds. Others find simulation awareness disturbing, wanting reality to be natural and objective rather than computational construct because solid real world feels more meaningful or valuable than programmed simulation. This preference reveals their emotional investment in materialist ontology that simulation evidence threatens, creating psychological resistance to accepting implications of what you demonstrated even if they witnessed the pause directly. A few are investigating philosophical implications. If reality is simulation, questions arise about who or what runs it, what purposes it serves, whether beings within simulation have genuine consciousness or are programmed responses. Your pause-triggering sequence doesn't answer these questions, but does provide evidence that simulation hypothesis deserves serious consideration rather than dismissal as science fiction. Some are attempting to replicate simulation awareness experiences, trying meditation, psychedelics, or other consciousness-altering approaches, hoping to perceive computational nature of reality that you detected through executing optimal sequence. These attempts sometimes succeed in revealing constructed nature of experience, though rarely produce the dramatic pause and recalibration that your specific sequence triggered. Others are developing practical applications. If reality is computational and can be influenced through optimal sequences, then understanding principles that govern sequence effectiveness becomes valuable knowledge. This creates interest in studying your sequence not just as curiosity, but as potential blueprint for reality manipulation techniques that could be applied deliberately rather than intuitively. The architects observe that simulation awareness integration is most profound consequence of triggering pause. Beyond practical advantages of post-recalibration upgrades, you've gained direct experiential knowledge that reality operates computationally, fundamentally transforming your ontology from naive realism to simulation understanding that changes everything about how you relate to existence, manifestation, possibility, and consciousness itself. You executed sequence, simulation paused, and witnessing that pause destroyed illusions while revealing truths about nature of reality that most people never directly experience. Now something's emerging that the architects call sequence replication, impossibility recognition. As observers attempt to understand and replicate your reality pausing sequence, they're discovering that sequences can't be copied directly because what worked for you in your specific circumstances with your specific consciousness and timing wouldn't work for them in their different contexts, revealing that optimal sequences are emergent from unique intersection of individual consciousness, circumstantial conditions, and temporal positioning rather than being universal formulas that transfer across people and situations. Most success literature promotes replicable methods. Do these steps and get these results, but reality pausing sequences apparently operate through principles that must be applied uniquely to each situation rather than through steps that can be copied mechanically. Watch what sequence replication impossibility creates among observers. Initial attempts at copying fail consistently. People trying to replicate your specific decisions and actions in your order don't trigger pauses or recalibrations because their circumstances and consciousness don't create same probability cascades your sequence achieved in your unique context. This forces recognition that they can't shortcut to reality manipulation through imitation but must develop their own capacity to perceive optimal sequences in their situations. Some are shifting from studying your sequence to studying your sequence recognition capacity, understanding that what you did specifically is less important than whatever enabled you to perceive and execute optimal sequence in first place. This deeper investigation focuses on consciousness development, intuition cultivation, probability perception enhancement, rather than just trying to copy your external actions disconnected from internal awareness that guided them. Others are experiencing frustration. They want formula they can follow to trigger their own pauses and recalibrations, becoming disappointed when they discover that sequences are context-dependent and consciousness-dependent rather than universal. This frustration reveals their mechanistic mindset that wants techniques over transformation. Missing that reality manipulation at your level requires consciousness development rather than just behavioral imitation. A few are recognizing sequence replication, impossibility as validation, that reality is genuinely complex and alive rather than mechanically simple. If same sequence worked for everyone, reality would be deterministic machine. The fact that optimal sequences are unique to each situation suggests reality responds intelligently to specific conditions and consciousness rather than following fixed rules that can be exploited universally. Some are developing sequence discovery practices rather than trying to copy your sequence. They're working on cultivating capacities that would enable them to perceive their own optimal sequences when opportunities arise. This includes intuition development, probability sensing training, timing recognition practice, and other consciousness development, work that might enable sequence recognition rather than just sequence execution. Others are becoming sequence opportunity, watchful, understanding that optimal sequences involve recognizing and acting on specific windows of opportunity that your awareness detected. They're cultivating attentiveness to circumstantial conditions and probability flows, hoping to notice their own sequence opportunities when they emerge, rather than trying to force sequences to occur through willpower alone. The architects observe that sequence replication possibility recognition is teaching sophisticated observers that reality manipulation through optimal sequences isn't about copying techniques, but about developing consciousness and awareness that can perceive unique optimal paths through probability, landscape as they appear in specific contexts. You can't give them your sequence because it was yours specifically, but demonstration that sequences exist and trigger pauses inspires them to develop capacities that might enable discovering their own sequences when conditions align.